A lot of my clients believe that when you pick a niche, you can't take on any other clients, but that could be further from the truth. The truth about picking a niche is that it means you're picking where to develop your expertise. That's what I want to show you in this video today. It's picking your expertise. It is picking a line of work that you are deciding to commit to, that you will learn everything about, build your assets, build your resources, build your tool set around, build your skill set around, build your mindset so that you can increase your assets and your income. I think a lot of people have this whole concept of a niche very incorrect, but after watching this video, if I can show you that picking a niche will be one of the best things that you do for your business, not that you can't take on any other clients, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that you just need to pick a direction on which to build the foundation of your business, and then you branch out. You can still take on any other client that you want. And I will show you the exact process that I've used for myself when I was on the road to $10,000 per month. The same process that I teach my students and the same process that I want to teach you today. So if any of that excites you, you're excited about learning a new way of looking at a niche, or you're looking to develop it yourself, this video will be the only video that you need. And I'm very confident about that. So I'll see you guys on the other side. Hope that you enjoy the video. Community, have you ever felt stuck when trying to come up with ideas to post on social media, trying to come up with unique product and service offerings for your clients, and just really trying to figure out who your ideal customer is? In this video, I am going to demystify this whole concept of ideal customers, who they are, what comes with it. And what I'm going to do for you guys is to really simplify this whole concept and show you that marketing and sales is driven by who you sell to, not what you sell. What you sell is just a byproduct of who you sell to. And ultimately, I'm going to show you how to get unstuck. A lot of people say to me, well, Jordi, I don't want to work with this niche and then close off money over here. When you pick a niche, it simply is a decision for your business to draw a line in the sand. You may or may not realize it by now, but if you have 5 different groups of clients that you're working with, they each require very subtle differences in how you service them. And ultimately, when you do this, it really causes your business to turn into this Frankenstein looking monster where you can kind of do a little bit of weddings good, and you can kind of do some portraits, and you can kind of do some family shoots, and you never ever really get good at anything. The challenge with this is that you never also really get to charge as much as you could. And in this video, I'm going to break down exactly just that. So we are going to be covering what are ideal client profiles, why are they important, what life looks like without them, and a very simple step-by-step process for creating a dream client profile. So let's get into it. Your ideal client profiles are a detailed description that tells you who would benefit most from your service, how they contribute to your long-term revenue growth, how they could build long-term relationships with your business, and it tells you whether or not these people are aligned with the vision that you have for your brand. These are some of the things that your ideal client profile will tell you about this client. Now, your ideal client profile are to get more specific, they're gonna have demographics. So they're gonna tell you your client's age range, gender, location, income level, job title. If you're targeting businesses, you're going to include information about your company size, annual revenue, number of employees, geographic location. There's a term that we use called psychographics, right? So this has to do with the mind. And like, how do they buy, right? Like, do they buy items every week? What are their preferred communication channels, right? SMS, text, etc. What's their decision-making process like? Do they have to defer to authority? Are they making their own decisions? Are they the breadwinners? Things like that. The challenges and pain points are in some ways related to the psychographics, but in this category, we're focusing on the specific needs that your clients are facing. And then when you get from there, you go into the goals, right? Like, what are they trying to achieve, right? Like, what is a family trying to achieve if they've never done a photo shoot in the last 4 years? What is a CEO trying to do with a brand new marketing campaign that they're launching right before Halloween, right? Like, what do they want? Then we go into the budget, right? And the question I always ask here is, do they have the money and are they willing to pay? These are some of the things that your ideal client profile will have. You can make it way more detailed, but as a starting point, this is a good level at which you can understand who your client is and what it is that they're really after. Now, why are these things important? They allow you to do a few things with your resources. So when you're at the small business stage, right? And small business, they're typically, like, let's say you're making less than $100,000 a year. If you're making that little bit of money, you have limited resources, right? And I may be able to draw that. So you have limited resources, limited time, and limited people, right? So you really want to make the best use possible of the resources you have available. And how do we do that? So these profiles, they help you to maximize your resources. So for argument's sake, let's say you're a photographer and you call yourself a portrait photographer. You may have lights that you don't need. You may have lenses that you don't need. You may have camera equipment that you may just never really use because your client doesn't really need that. So if you know who your ideal client is, for example, if I was a product photographer, I'm not going to purchase, and I'll just write this out, right? If I am a product photographer, I don't need a 70 to 200 lens. I just don't really need that because I'm not going to be using a 70 to 200, right? It just won't happen. So I don't know how I cross this out, right? I don't need a 70 to 200. I probably won't need a 24 millimeter lens either. I'm probably going to go get a macro lens. If I'm a wedding photographer, I may not purchase a macro lens. So it helps you to buy things that you actually need. 2, you can generate more leads. If you know who it is that you want, you'll be able to have a clearer message. You'll know exactly what they need, and you'll be able to give them exactly what they want. It also helps retention because when you specialize, you know your customers so well. You know their buying patterns. You know what they need, how they want it. You have profiles on them. It allows you to retain more customers for the long time. And that's how I've had customers that I've been shooting with for 5, 6, 7 years because I just know exactly what it is that they need. I mentioned this before, but I had to spell this one out. It helps you to buy the right equipment. And overall, in the long term, it helps you to build a better long-term business. Now, on the flip side, if you don't have these profiles, you're going to be wasting your resources. You're going to be buying things that you don't need. You're going to be going to events that you don't need to spend time at. You're going to be collaborating with people that don't really value your service. And ultimately, you're not going to get to a place where you're actually doing the things that you need to do to drive the business forward. You're going to have a really difficult time generating leads because you don't know who it is that you want to target. Because most people, when I look at their Instagram profiles, they call themselves portrait photographers. Miss Wendy that wants to do her wedding does not want a portrait photographer. She wants a wedding expert. You're going to lose more customers. And you're going to lose more customers. This may not happen up front, but this is going to happen on the back end because a client is like, okay, the experience was okay. It wasn't really anything extravagant. They just took some pictures. They're going to find somebody else that could specialize. You're going to be buying the wrong equipment. You're going to be a product photographer buying a 70 to 200 lens. You're going to be a wedding photographer trying to get a macro lens. It's just not going to make any sense. And then your business ultimately won't last for the long term. So now I want to show you guys literally the framework that we use over here in the $1 Million Photographer. I've used this in my photography company as well. Step one, pick a target, right? So like pick who you want to work with. Do you want to work with weddings, corporations, brands, families, kids, babies? Pick a group, and I'll show you how to do this, right? Then you're going to identify their key demographics. So if you're working with toddlers, you're going to probably target the parents because the toddlers can't make a decision. If you're going to work with business owners, let's say you're working with politicians, you want to look for the communications departments. If you're working with artists, you want to look for artists that have managers. These are some little hacks that you can use to really make this great for yourself. Then you're going to define their pain points and challenges. We'll show you how to do that later on. And then you want to outline their goals and motivations. These 4 things, there are a lot of subcategories, but I isolated these as just good starting points because you could break these down into smaller subgroups. Now, here's the framework that we use to determine if your chosen client is a good fit for us. So remember, we picked a client, so we picked a target in step 1. You want to ask yourself these questions. Do they need what you have? And then you want to rank that 1 out of 10. Do they have the money and are willing to pay? Are they easy to find? And is the market growing or shrinking? Let's turn our eyes to the niche calculator. So this is a tool that we use in the business to really help speed up the process of your niche. So let's just the process of picking your niche. So it says here, pick rank each category out of 10 to get a total score out of 40 actually. And this will help you to determine who you should work with. So I'm going to say I want to do toddlers, weddings, right? Because I just love all this stuff. I want to work at brands, and then I want to work with families. Let's say the toddlers are not really profitable, but the clients really love it. I get some personal fulfillment, and the market is growing because babies are being born every day, right? So we have a 30. Weddings, extremely profitable. The clients really value it. I get an 8 out of 10 satisfaction with it. And guess what? People are getting married every year. So now I have a score out. Let me just give it a 7, right? Let me just give that a 7. Let me just update that formula. All right, guys, technical difficulties here. There we go. All right. So now it's telling me, okay, based on what I put in so far, weddings are probably my thing. Then now let's say brands. I love brands. They definitely value it. I get a lot of fulfillment because I can see the results that I create. And then is the market growing? New businesses are being born every single day. I'm gonna have to update this formula as well too. So that's gonna be E8. And then families, they're like somewhat profitable. I have to put in a lot of work. The clients, they value it, but they don't really need it that much. Personal fulfillment, I love me some families. And then is the market, well, families are being made every day. So I give that a 10. And then I now put that back over here. And now if you look at it, it's now telling me really quickly that I should work with brands. Now, brands are very general. So now what I would do, I would run the exercise again. And what I would do now is I would run it back and I'd say now clothing brands. Then I'd say jewelry brands. And then I would say this may be nonprofits. And then I'm going to do the exercise again. Now that I've determined that I want brands, I'm going to now make different groups of brands. And then now that will just help you to get more specific. Now, after you've done all of that, let's say we're going to maybe not nonprofits, but let's say financial, let's say real estate professionals, and then let's say nonprofits here, right? So this is telling me I should work with real estate professionals. Great. Now, what are we going to do? Now we're going to take this. So you're going to have this profile here. And essentially what you're going to do now is we're going to fill out this profile. So remember the answer that we have here with real estate professionals. I'm going to copy that and I'm going to come over here. I'm going to come over here. Okay, they're trying to. All right, thought they got me, right? Real estate professionals. So 10 problems. So now here's a few things we could do, right? We could research, we could go to Google. So I'm going to type in what are 10 problems real estate professionals have as it relates to booking photography services. I'm going to copy that because I'm going to come back to it later. All right, so I'm just looking here, right? I'm going to go through some articles. Okay, nothing here. Let's go to Quora or Reddit. Let's see what we find. All right, so not exactly what we're looking for. We're looking for the issue that they have. Right? So that's one approach that you could take. And I would okay. All right. So the biggest challenge real estate agents face. Let's have a look at this article. This one is interesting. Okay, generating quality leads. I'd add that to my list. Fierce competition. Okay. Now, here's the thing. These problems aren't directly related to you. But if you look at this, right? How do photographers help real estate professionals generate more leads? We help them generate more leads by helping them to build their brand presence on social media. So you want to use this article. I would save this article and I would study this article because what I'm going to show you next is a shortcut to identify the problems that they have as it relates to booking your service. But on the flip side, you also want to study your customer. You want to know what challenges they have, and you also want to know how to speak their language. Right? So now, after we have done that, I'm going to open up ChatGPT. I'm going to show you guys the shortcut method that we use. So remember that prompt. So I'm gonna literally just go back to my sheet here. I'll just show you. I'm not gonna fill out the whole thing, but I'm just gonna give you guys an idea that real estate professionals have as it relates to booking photography services for, and you could choose. I'm gonna choose the personal branding side, and I also just tell ChatGPT, don't explain. It's going to save you some time because we just want the answers, right? Okay, so look at this. Really good list. Lack of time to coordinate photo shoots, unclear communication with photographers about brand vision, limited availability of photographers. So it's a good list. I will play around with this list, but I would just take that and I'll now put that here. And now I have the main problems that they have. That's one way that you could approach it, okay? So once we've done all of that, you're pretty much now going to fill all of this in. And when you're finished with this, you're going to now have a whole complete profile on what it is that your clients want, who they are, how much they make, do they have kids or not. And you're literally going to get into the minds of your client. That's where we want to put ourselves. When you do all of that, you will now be able to make better business decisions, make more profit, connect with your customers, and ultimately build the business that you want. So if this video helped you, leave a comment down below and I will answer any questions that you guys have. Looking forward to seeing you. My name is Jordi-Lakeem Foster, the $1 Million Photographer, and I hope that this video was helpful for you. Thank you.